Okay.
Good evening, all. This is the February 17th, 2021 New Canaan Police Commission meeting, regular meeting at 6
Turn the
p.m.
music down.
Um,
Can you turn the music down in the other room?
On our first item of agenda, what I'd like to do is add an item to the agenda. We'd like to add James Marks and Greenology Kitchen and to discuss the parking on Main Street. So can I have a motion to accept that as an agenda, an additional agenda item?
So moved.
Moved. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Fine. Aye.
Aye. Okay, Jennifer, we got that. Okay. Item one, minutes from the previous meeting, which was January 20th. Any admissions, corrections, additions? Additions, not admissions.
I had just one small typo.
Yep.
On the second page, Jennifer, 7 lines up from the bottom, the word discuss should be discussed with an ED at the end. That
Got
was
it.
all that I had.
Grammar. Okay, I've got one, and we went to the Bethel Police Department, not the Bethel. I think there's an H in there.
Okay.
That's item D under building renovations updates. Okay,
Will do.
that's all. That was it.
Well, you gentlemen are good by
well-
catching that.
We strive for perfection.
Yeah, well, it keeps us focused, I guess. All right, so with that, I need a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
all those in
Aye.
favor? Aye. All right, that's
Aye.
good. All right, Chief, monthly reports, please.
Sure. First report I have is our budget. We should be at 58%. We're at 57.60, so right on track, just under budget. No concerns there. Animal control budget is at 53.60, so that's even more under budget than we are. So that's good news. No concerns about the budget. Any questions?
I had none.
No?
Next report I have is monthly statistics. I'll highlight some incidents. So first is family disputes. We had 4 in January 2021 versus 1 in January 20. So that's a trend up. Larceny for motor vehicles, 6 versus 1. That continues to be a problem as we've all incessantly tried to get a message across to our good folks that live in our town to lock their cars and keep their valuables out of their cars, but we'll continue working on that. Next areas I have of emphasis are motor vehicle accident property damage, which is 23 versus 40, and injury 2 versus 5. So hopefully that trend continues and we see less accidents and less injuries. But I think we'll see as the months come up if that changes or not. That's certainly good news. Psychiatric problems 5 versus 5, so that's a wash there as far as psychiatric, but they were up substantially, about more than 40% last year. So hopefully that won't occur this year, but the trend is consistent. Stolen vehicles 3 versus 0. So that continues to be a problem, and hopefully that'll trend down, but I don't see that letting up anytime soon, as long as people keep leaving their keys in their cars. That's all I have for statistics. Any questions?
Jim Shikaba? No.
No.
We were good. Okay, moving on. Topics for discussion. A is outdoor dining and roadway modification. This is a continuation of our 30-day roll, monthly roll for that vote. Any discussion on that? You saw that Forest Street requested to have the barriers removed. It's kind of too cold and too shady in there, and people just aren't sitting out. But I have seen people out certainly at on Elm Street, and it seems to be still working on a nice sunny afternoon. So I'd be in favor of just rolling it another month. Hopefully we're getting out of this very quickly. So can I have a motion to extend the outdoor dining and roadway modification another month? Shikaba?
Yep, I motion. Yeah.
Motion. Yep, good. Second, Jim?
I think we've lost Jim. I don't see him in my grid.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
He isn't in the waiting room, so I'll wait for him to pop back on, and when he does, I'll bring him in.
Okay. I'm going to vote for it too. So it's at least 2 votes. So why don't we just move on? It's at least 2 to 0. So that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
That's good. And we'll ask Jim to vote when he gets back on. Okay. B is the animal control shelter discussion. Chief, would you like to talk on that?
Sure. During a meeting that Kevin was leading, he asked the commission to take a look at the shelter and the issues surrounding it, to see if there's any recommendations and or concerns. Allison is on the call with us, so she can contribute. So what we put together, which you should have copies of, is a summary of calls for service and also time spent impounded and 3-year period. So you can see there was a 3-year average of 47 impounds, meaning 27, 2018, 2019. And time spent impounded, 97% of the time was 24 hours or less. So it's certainly not used long or consistently. I think the general premise is that it's adequate, could certainly be better. And certainly there were some improvements recently in the past several months with heating being added by the town and some other improvements that make it more functional and adequate. And the good news is the puppies are now out of there. So it's vacant for a time. And I know it's a challenge to find the right spot, given how everybody loves animals in town, including myself. And I think we want to do the right thing for them, what may make sense. And I did speak with a local vet to see if that was an option, to see if we could board animals there when need be. And he did propose a very reasonable per diem. I don't have a final number, so I can't discuss that until I get something in writing. But that could be an option if the shelter isn't working for us. But and I know other communities have different ways that they impound animals. Darien, I believe, uses an animal hospital, and other communities have their own shelter, which might be more up to date than ours is. And as you know, the animal shelter right now was an incinerator building, so it wasn't built to be a shelter. It was kind of repurposed, so it doesn't have any insulation. So it can get quite cold in the wintertime, but the good news is the heat that was added, it's working quite well, and it's warm and adequate for its purpose right this moment. I'll let Allison chime in and add any concerns she has or any observations she might have.
Hi there.
Hello,
Yeah.
Allison.
I come up as Pete. That's my alias after hours. Yes, no, you covered it pretty well, Chief. You know, it's adequate, and it's really, you know, a decision that the town and the townspeople want to make to replace or, you know, find another alternative.
Well, Allison, since 98% of the time they're there for 24 hours or less, do you think that this shelter is inadequate for the little use that it does get?
You know, it has its downfalls, and you know, talking to Tiger, you know, there's potential for a roof issue at any time. You know, I would hate to walk in and find the roof on the floor.
All right, well, seems like a maintenance issue of some kind. All right, any other issues there? Tiger, any other issues there?
No, Paul, none. I mean, the roof would just need to be replaced. It's not going to wind up on the floor, but it's, you know, it's a question of leaking and, you know, having to replace it. And the thought is, do we want to replace the roof on an existing incinerator building, you know, an older incinerator building or, you know, look elsewhere for an animal control building. But when that hasn't come to pass yet, and when it does come to pass, then we can take up the decision at that time or the discussion. And then we'll just continue to work with Allison. If she has concerns, she can contact me directly and we'll jump on them immediately.
Okay.
Hey, Tiger, I have two questions. How old is the building?
Sure.
And what's your best guess on what it would cost to replace the roof?
I'm told that it's a 1950s vintage, I think. And we had, I think it was $87,000 for the
Wow.
roof.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, and then it has envelope issues as well, since it's just one large, you know, brick structure. It has envelope issues, or you know, and then with windows and things of that nature to try to seal up the building itself.
Sure.
So,
All right.
all right.
Commissioners, any other thoughts? Okay.
No.
Chief, I would suggest that we just continue down that path that you're on to see if we can get one of the local vets to shelter them and what that would cost. I mean, it's certainly going to be a lot less than an $87,000 roof. And I'm not in favor of going out and spending a lot of money on something that I don't think there's much of a problem that we're trying to solve here. Certainly we want a safe environment for any animal that's there. But let's just explore all these other options as well.
Does anyone know where our town clerk has that group Strays and Others? Does she have a shelter of any kind that she uses? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Allison,
Yes, it's my understanding that there is a building in Norwalk, but she is mostly cats. Does not
Right.
handle a lot of dogs.
Okay.
How many animals at a given time that's there? Is this the most we've had?
Well, certainly the seizure was indeed the most we've had in my time. You know, we average, you know, just say a dog a week. You know, but we also have to consider that, you know, I've had guinea pigs, ducks, rabbits, roosters, guinea hens. So this is not just exclusive to our residents' canines. You know, and we have to be prepared for that. You know, we're animal control. So whatever animal needs our assistance, I want to be there.
Okay. I was not aware of those other animals, guinea pigs and any goldfish.
You know, you'd be amazed at what has entered that building.
Okay. All right. I tell you what, Chief, why don't you find out some more information on outsourcing this as one item. We'll pick it up again next month. Tiger, if you could just get us some other numbers on the roof. 87,000 sounds, I don't know if that's high or low. I just don't know.
Hey,
Kevin,
Paul, could I mention?
yeah, please. Yes.
A few weeks ago, I spent about an hour on the phone with Mayor Martin of Stamford and Jamie Stevenson, First Selectman of Darien, at Mayor's request. And he's working on possibly building a new animal shelter in South Stamford. And he wanted to know if Darien and New Canaan would be interested in participating. He's looking to get a state grant to build it. And I, other than the fact that it's in South Stamford, I said, I don't think our police officers would really be interested in driving down to South Stamford by their transfer station, or also our residents to go down and pick up dogs. If you put it in Springdale, it might be worth talking about or something, but South Stamford didn't seem very appealing as a location for Darien and New Canaan.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's all subject to him trying to get a state grant to build it, so.
Right, and then we wouldn't, would the idea be that we would just outsource it to him? I don't pay him per diem or something.
Well, they have a lot more stray animals, but actually they have more cats than dogs, surprisingly. So I said, New Canaan tends to be a dog town, not a cat town.
Right.
So.
We love our dogs. We love our animals here. It's no doubt, but. Right.
yeah, I'll keep exploring that with local vets. There's certain requirements. A shelter at all the vet would have to meet certain requirements that the state requires in order to do that. We could use it at an ad hoc basis right now, but if we totally eliminated our own shelter, I believe there's a lot of other requirements that would have to be met. So I'll work with Allison to figure out what those are, and I'll nail down some proposals and possibilities going forward to see if we can do something different than we've done in the past.
Okay, and I would suggest that the commissioners take a ride over there too and take a good hard look at it and come back in 30 days with some ideas. All right, good, thanks.
If I might say something, I didn't realize it was just more than dogs. Would this be, with the ducks and the rabbits and the roosters, would it be something more like the kind of like a nature center would have a place?
Generally not, no. Animal control is required, certainly by state statute to handle certain animals. There's also the compassionate side. If there's a cage of guinea pigs left on the side of the road, I'm not going to say, I don't do that. So we'll take it in. We'll certainly look to rehome these animals as quickly as possible because our shelter is not adequate to house those types of animals long-term either. But we're obligated to respond, regardless of the species.
Hey, Allison, how does someone know if their dog, cat, or guinea pig is in the shelter?
Generally it's a wait and see. People will be very surprised that their dog's been missing for 6 hours and they didn't know that.
Yeah.
But as a rule, if they're tagged properly, I can locate them quickly. If they're chipped properly, I can do the same. But generally there's sort of that 6 hour, wait for somebody to recognize the fact that the dog has wandered off.
Okay, and do you have any social media on the town site?
Yes, we do work with
Okay.
social media. I'm cautious about it because it often creates more attention than I really want. And sometimes it brings out people from the woodwork that can be, cause some issues. So I'm careful using social media.
Okay. Okay, any other comments from the public on this? I see we have a number of people. Okay, hearing none. All right, let's move on and save additional discussion for next month. Building renovation update. Kevin, would you like to address that?
Yes, the building committee has had 2 meetings now.
Yep.
3 meetings? 2 meetings. The architect, there are 2 primary architects for police department buildings in the Northeast, and they both came and spoke, introduced themselves. And so the building committee also elected a co-chairman, still looking for another co-chairman. And the committee is first of all going to look at South Avenue building in terms of renovation. It was made clear that the architect said it would be very costly to maintain a facade if we were just trying to maintain a facade of the front of the building, but it'll be costly to renovate that building as is. And we are certainly looking at possible locations to build a new building if we can find the right town-owned property.
Correct.
So it'll probably take 2 or 3 more months before the committee begins to form some conclusions.
Right. I know there've been a number of subcommittee meetings, and it's sort of moving. The process is moving forward as quickly as it can, given where we are. Okay. All right. Good. Chief, the 2022 budget update is the next.
You're muted, Leon.
Yep. Board of Selectmen approved the budget I presented. It's a 0.9% increase operating side, a pretty substantial increase on the capital side, largely due to police accountability law related to body cameras and in-car cameras in our vehicles. That's required July 1. Next presentation is on the 25th, and I'm going to update my presentation. I'll send it to you all so you can have that And hopefully you'll be able to join in on that and participate in that.
Is that Board of Finance then the 25th?
Yes, that's right.
Got it.
That's kind of where we stand.
I think it's at 7 p.m.
Yes, we probably won't get on until.
Yeah,
8:30 or something.
I think fire is going to go first and then police is going to go second.
Is it alphabetical?
No, I think we did it that way for a reason, but we're sorting it all out now.
I know, we just seem to get stuck later and later. You know how it is. We've been through this for years, so. I'd like to switch it 1 year so that we can go first and fire can go second. Or we draw straws and do it just. Okay, thanks. Item E, college course approval for Deputy Chief John DeFederico. John? I saw that notice. What's the course again?
Public finance and budgeting. How timely.
and presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's at University of New Haven. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Can I have a second on that? All those in favor? All right. Can I have a motion to approve? Okay.
Approve. Yep.
Second is Jim.
Okay.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. And then course approval for Brian Conley. Chief, what is that again? For
He's enrolled in a Master's of Science program at Liberty University. He begins his first online course soon, and he quotes what the tuition is, and he will provide grade upon his completion of the course.
Okay.
Recommend approval.
Yep. Thank you. Motion to approve.
Moved.
Approve.
Second, Jim. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Then lastly, let's talk about John DeFederico. Let's talk about Greenology Kitchen. James, are you on as well? And what are the findings that Kelly has come back with after spending some time on it?
Well, I'll let Kelly speak to that real quick. I know she's got to go to her second game here, so if she has a minute, I don't want to tie her up too much longer, but I'll just let her talk to what she has discovered over the last month.
All right, thank you. I've spent quite a few mornings in that general area in Maine and Elm, so I've tried to, keep my eye on that area. I can't sit there obviously for 6 hours a day and draw up exact numbers, but in general, I have seen the loading zone used, not a ton, kind of sporadic throughout the day. As James has noticed too, there are a couple trucks that use the Forest Street loading zone or will just park across the street from Greenology, and they'll walk across the crosswalk. So I'd say, as we've discussed before, parking authority comes at 9. The loading zones from 7 to 11. So really the troubling area is between 9 and 11. It does get busy on that upper half of Main Street. So I do notice parking fills up. But the other thing I've noticed is the other half, the lower half south of that intersection, there are quite a few spaces right by Connecticut Muffin, in front of Gopher, on both sides. A lot of those businesses aren't open till 11 o'clock or, in COVID times, even 12 or later. But a lot of people just don't seem willing to want to cross over the crosswalk or go a little bit further. People want the convenience of parking right in front of the store. So it's impossible if, someone happens to be right in front of Greenology, but they're going to Club Pilates or they're going to another business in town. So I think there is a heavy morning traffic, but it's coming and going. And the loading zone, it needs to be there as an option, whether it's used or not. I don't think we should take it away completely. But I think the biggest thing is just maybe notifying, or if we can mark somehow, just more getting people aware of when the enforcement period is. Outside of that, then they don't have a problem. It's really just that 9 to 11 window where people are kind of getting stuck and parking there when they shouldn't be.
Right. Okay. John, Deputy Chief.
Yeah, I would agree with Kelly. It's a loading zone. We have to provide it. And if usage is the issue, perhaps it's an enforcement thing where we encourage more delivery trucks to use it rather than double park elsewhere. So, yeah, I don't believe that the answer is moving it or eliminating it. We've talked about it for several years, going back to, as early as 2013 that I could discover through
Right.
meeting minutes. And, with the post office there, that obviously made things a little bit different for a short period of time. But historically, we've needed a loading zone. We want to encourage trucks to park in the loading zone, and we should provide it. And I don't feel moving it is the answer. Our most recent discussion and recommendation from Parking Authority was to increase the time of day of the loading zone to make it all day. That was tabled and never really picked up again in 2018. Like Kelly said, we're talking about a 2-hour window here that might provide some level of difficulty for greenology. It's 2 hours that as customers could possibly park somewhere else close by and just have to walk a little bit of distance. So I don't think that problem would require such a drastic solution of eliminating the loading zone at this time.
Okay. When the post office was in that location, I thought we had 15-minute parking there for a couple of spots.
Yeah, I think we did, and I think we also had that loading zone across the street in front of Tolly, and I think that's why we put that there. We had multiple options to share the space. We recognized that obviously the post office was a unique situation there, and it was temporary, but that was all circled back and drawn back to the original, what we have now, the 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. loading zone.
Okay. Got it.
Can I add one thing if you don't mind?
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Deputy Chief said, and I did stop and speak with Mr. Marks the other day, just to kind of refresh what we talked about last time, and also just say, obviously, if there were to be a change made, the problem is once you start moving those lines, and once you start, getting the town or planning and zoning involved, there's a lot of other issues that could create. So I think it's better to just have a simplistic solution where we don't cause a giant scene. We don't try and rearrange the entire parking situation, because as we saw on Elm Street and other locations in town, it could easily end up in a worse situation than it was in. The only suggestion, which I don't even know if this is possible or how complicated it would be, is I took a couple measurements of some of the loading zones in town. The one that is at Main, right in front of Greology, is a little over 70 feet long. And the other ones are, I have it written down, there's one on Elm near Park that's a little over 42 feet. And there's one on the corner of South and Elm that is 46 feet, almost 47 feet long. So I don't know if it would be at all possible. I had mentioned to Stacy about the idea of a quick 15-minute pickup zone. I don't know if maybe one space at the northern part of that loading zone could be a quick 15-minute pickup. So it's still an option to leave free for trucks if they really do need an extended length, even though there's not that many trucks that big that come through here. Because after that, again, there is the fire hydrant and the handicap. So really it's like 5 parking spaces that's utilized for other things and not readily available. That would be maybe a possible suggestion. But again, I don't know exactly what goes into moving lines like that.
Okay. Yeah, I know if we start moving some lines, the state starts to get involved. It is a state road, and then it opens a whole nother can of worms down there. Hey, is it 70 feet for a reason? Is it because of where the intersection is? Or could we carve out, just like you just sort of suggested here, one space within that 70 feet which would be what, 20 feet or 25 feet? Which would kind of give another 40 feet. I don't know. That makes sense. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. I think I think the reason why it was is just to allow egress of the trucks to get out. If there's just one car parked there, it might make it a little bit more challenging for the trucks to get out. But, I think a typical spot is 22 to 25 feet. And if you still have 50 feet left over. But again, the challenge is that crosswalk is right there. And now we're encroaching on that. So now you're pushing any trucks closer to that crosswalk, which I think is something we want to stay away from.
That's probably why it's there. As you come up with that hill and off to the right, it's a line of sight.
Right.
Okay. James, are you on? James Marks, I know you're there. James, are you muted?
Sure.
Yeah,
Hi.
hi, James. Hey. Good evening.
Hi. I continue to hear from customers who get tickets there on a daily basis, including the DoorDash driver who just spoke to Kelly in the restaurant the other day. He was in his car and he got a ticket. There's got to be some sort of solution. I think the 15-minute parking, 1 or 2 spaces in front of the restaurant would allow for loading and unloading and these customers who are coming and going all day long. DoorDash, Grubhub, these guys aren't going to park across the street and carry all this stuff. They're going to double park or they're going to park there and they're going to get a ticket. My customers, they're going to gamble. They're going to see there's 4 empty parking spaces there all morning, every morning. I very rarely see a truck loading or unloading there. The customer is going to gamble. They're going to run in to get their smoothie or their coffee, and they're going to get back in their car and they're going to have a $30 ticket. I don't know what business in that area on Main Street requires an 18-wheeler truck to make a delivery. You have the loading zone on Forest Street, which is ideal for those restaurants there. There's multiple restaurants. I don't know in this vicinity on Main Street what delivery would take place in that big of a truck.
Okay. I tell you what, let me do this. Then let me come back with Deputy Chief DeFederico and Kelly and take another harder look at that possibility. But again, I can't promise anything here either.
Right.
Look, we're trying to find a solution for you. I can't guarantee a solution, but we'll take another look at it one more time. How's that?
I'm really trying to make this breakfast and new coffee business work.
Yeah.
The coffee is a very important part of this business, and it's actually a very hot brand. People would be lining up for the coffee if they could get to our restaurant. But they're going to go to Connecticut Muffin or Zoombox or anywhere where they can easily park, get out of their car, and grab their coffee.
Right.
It's very bad for my business, and from the last meeting, it's bad for. Casey Skid was saying her customers come in and cancel their memberships when they get a ticket at the Pilates and the Stretch Lab, which are both open in the morning, and they also have an issue.
Well, for them though, there is plenty of parking behind Town Hall. I mean, there is.
Yeah.
And they can walk. I mean, look, people in this town don't like to walk. We know
Right.
that. When we go into Manhattan, we walk 2 or 3 miles a day, right? I walk 15, 20, 30 minutes from Grand Central to my office or whatever. People won't walk 10 minutes here. They won't walk 3 minutes here. They want to walk, so. And we've never been able to solve that problem. People will circle the block on Elm Street over and over again. They'll circle 3 times rather than parking over the train station and just walking, down the block. I don't get it, but they do. All right, so I tell you what, I'll promise you that. Deputy Chief and I will take a look at it. We'll get Kelly involved again, and we'll come back to you.
Just look and think about what how 15-minute parking might work, because it might allow my customers and the trucks, everybody to unload and load and do their thing.
Yeah.
Paul, I will just say this, if we make any changes there, we're gonna have to adhere to the 25-foot rule from the crosswalk.
I know,
That's gonna happen. So you're gonna lose 25 feet on either side of the crosswalk if we make any changes there.
Gotcha. All right, so I'll tell you what, why don't we take a harder look? We'll take one more look and see what we can do, and then we'll solve this next month, I think.
Okay.
All right.
Which you can do. It'd be extremely helpful for my business and the other businesses on that side of the street.
This town is very business friendly, and you know, we want to make sure that we explore all.
I mean, and maybe another thing you could do, you could shorten the loading zone period to maybe 7 to 9 in the morning. And then after that, have 15-minute parking, or not, but.
Okay.
For me to get 9 to 11 back would really be great. Maybe the trucks can do their loading and unloading by, make a plan and come at 7 or 8 in the morning and do it then.
The alternate plan could also be you do curbside pickup between 9 and 11.
Yeah.
Well, again, the problem with curbside pickup, again, we had a DoorDash guy in his car and he got a ticket. They photographed his car and he got a ticket. So how's that going to work?
Okay, I tell you what, let's leave it there for now,
Okay,
and we'll come back to you. All right.
thank you.
All right. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Any other matters? I don't think so. Any other matters from the public or the press? Okay, hearing none, we'll end the public session of this meeting. We have a couple things to go over in executive session, and we appreciate all your support and listening through this. Thank you all. Jennifer, you could take us to executive session starting at
Sure.
6.
Hang on one second. I just have to make
See you,
sure
Joe.
people leave the press.
Paul, could you invite me into executive session?
I can. First Selectman Kevin Whitehan, welcome to executive session. I see Joe.
Joe is still on. Hold on one second. I don't know if he needs to say something.
Yeah, no, I'm still on. I was going to give an update on the video surveillance
Okay, one second.
if
Hold on.
requested.
15. Okay.
Okay, we're recording again. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, we're back in a public session. It is 7:15 on February 17th. We want to take one more vote, final vote on the outdoor dining and roadway modification issue in town. Jim McLaughlin's computer shut off and now he can vote. So the vote right now is 2-0. Jim, how do you vote?
I vote in favor of extending the outdoor dining.
Now it is 3-0 to extend the outdoor dining, and hopefully the weather.
And that's until your next meeting, correct?
Until our next meeting. Yeah, we'll do the 30 days. Because
Okay.
look, my feeling is this is, gosh, I hope this is almost over. It's hopefully by May, and then we're all outdoors anyway, and the weather will be nice. It's not an issue.
Sure.
I was just in Florida. They're wide open. It's outdoor 24 hours a day or whatever. It's not really. They had a curfew from, I think, 1 o'clock to 6 a.m. to kind of clean the bars out. Guys, you get out of here, go home, go to work the next day, etc. They kind of shut the restaurants down at 1 or 2 and then open them, restaurants up again at 6 a.m. But for the most part, the place cars are all over the highway. I mean, there's as much traffic in Miami today as there was a year ago, or actually before the pandemic. I mean, it's come back in a big way.
Wow.
So
We won't have that problem in New Canaan.
No, we will not have that problem yet.
Because I think like I was out a couple of nights ago. It was like at 8:30 and there was like even the restaurants.
It's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
after- I mean, these restaurants unfortunately basically have one serving. You know, you don't have many two servings a night, so, which is tough. So, all right, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, anything else?
No,
Motion to adjourn. Anyone? You don't want to adjourn?
Yes.
yes, let's adjourn.
Adjourn, yes. Thank you.
Unanimous. All those in
All right,
favor?
good night. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good
Night.
night.